Hello and welcome back to another review here on the C Cinema Reviews channel. And today, I'm going to be reviewing a movie that, honestly, when I heard about, I was like, okay, Disney, wow, like, show me what you got. Because this is another one of their movies that they have used inspiration from one of their rides at their theme parks for. And that's Jungle Cruise. And I was going into it like, I hope this is great. I think that the cast was obviously a really solid cast, and just wanted to see what they would do with the inspiration from the ride. And happily, happily, I was very pleasantly surprised. I think that this is one of the most charming and fun movies that I've seen in a while. It really got me just in that feel for the adventure, and that's something that movies in the past have tried but not really gotten me. And this just really hit that kind of sweet, like almost Indiana Jones, like perfect adventure kind of feel to it all the way through. I never felt like the tone of the movie changed. It was always a solid, just fun time, and that's something that I couldn't ask for anymore. So let's talk about the story. The story, I really enjoy because they did something that really harkens back to your classic Indiana Jones style of movie and adventure, where it is not just an adventure because our cast of characters are doing something adventurous, but there's also that element of the supernatural, which, if obviously you've seen any of the Indiana Jones movies, you would know that that is a key element to the aesthetic of that particular style of adventure. And I love what they did with Aguirre and the Tears of the Moon, and that whole storyline. It was really a really good way to get us, like, set us off on this adventure, and having these interesting interactions, not just with Frank, Dwayne Johnson's character, who, let's just give it up, okay? Let's give it up for the man who can pull off any dad joke, okay? Those are not easy. Oops, sorry, hit the microphone. Those are not easy, okay? But he literally, I could just sit there, and that entire sequence in the beginning of the film, when he's doing the first Jungle Cruise, and he's just making all the dad jokes, and really selling and scamming his patrons. Just, I think that that is such, I would have watched a whole movie just on that. But he does such a good job, and having the story and the adventure go throughout this really remote place, and having characters like the indigenous people who turn out to be really cool. And I love what they did with subverting the expectations of what an adventure movie does, right? Because you think of back in the older movies, and the native people are, an obstacle for the main character to overcome, or the main characters to overcome. But I love what they did with this one, where no, they are, there's no difference between them and anybody else. They learn, they understand, they go along with the scams, just as much as you and I would. And I really love that expectation subversion. I think it's a really solid, like a really beautiful way that they took that element that is in so many adventure movies, and really put it, like, turned it on its head and made it better. And that's something that I really have to give credit to them for. They did a solid job with taking the tropes and the expectations that you would have going into an adventure style movie, and either delivering on the expectation or subverting it and making it better. Which, if you're going to do subvert an expectation, there's only one way to do it, right? You got to make it better. If it doesn't make it better, why would you change the trope? And I really love what they did with that. I think that they did such a great job with the casting of this movie too. Yes, very much like Indiana Jones. There you do have your classic white protagonist. I don't know why I did air quotes. Your classic white protagonist and Emily Blunt's character. But as much as she is, a really, great character in and of herself, this is The Rock's movie. He does some of his best work is in this movie, not just with his humor, but I feel like his comedic timing was really on point in this movie. And him, let's be honest, okay? Let's be honest with each other. There's a difference in acting quality between a Robert De Niro and The Rock, but he killed it in this movie, even with the more subtle moments and the kind of heartfelt moments when he's talking about his friend Aguirre and his daughter, and how he would have done anything, but you can't just go killing people. That's never a way to get what you need done. I feel like The Rock really nailed this movie, and it was his movie, like from start to finish. Even though Emily Blunt was the first character we saw, I feel like The Rock was without a doubt like the protagonist of this movie, and he does a really really good job. Another person that I want to give a huge shout out to is Jake Whitehall. He does an amazing job at being the not bumbling friend, because like Frank said, you got good form. He could throw a mean right straight. But the friend who is kind of out of their element and following the other characters around, but he does it so well, and I love it. And the idea of putting the idea of having the gay best friend, right? I love putting that in this movie. I think it's a really like chef's kiss thing to do in a movie like this, where you could just make him the bumbling friend who just follows the other two around, but no, he has his own little arc. He has his own little character building moments within the movie. And I think like he does, Jack does a great job with that role, and having it's nice to Disney, to put get some more progression. Let's move these things along, and how it definitely must have been terrible for somebody to be gay in that period of time, and giving us that intimate moment between him and The Rock, and how Frank was just like, you know, to otherwise. And it was just a perfect thing to be like, yeah, yeah, this makes me happy. This right here, this works. I love it. It was such a good movie, honestly. Everything from Edgar Ramirez as Aguirre, and Jesse Plemons as Prince Joachim, and then of course Paul Giamatti. He does great as Nilo, the guy who owns all the other boats and is trying to take Frank's boat. It's they did a really really solid job with all of their casting, and that's something that's not easy to do. And I really did enjoy the aesthetic that they gave to Aguirre and his friends, and how they were taken over by the jungle, which corrupted them in some ways, and in other ways made, and obviously in the way that made them even more scary than they could have been. It because you could just have them be like, undying, but I love the fact of the snakes and the bees and like the mud. It was a really really cool way to do it, and I and like the tree, the guy who was basically like the vines and the trees. Like, I love that idea of taking the supernatural and making your enemies definitely deadly, because we obviously did see them kind of wreak havoc in the village up in the trees, but not making them too scary, which is another really good thing, because this is obviously made for kids, and like I never felt like I would have been scared of these guys. Now I'm sure some kids are, but I feel like they did a really really beautiful job of making this movie in such a way to where all of us who have, grown up going to the rides, and grown up with other adventure movies there's like there's the adult humor, there's the stuff for us, and then there's the stuff for the kids. I feel like they did a really solid job of just writing that line and making this movie appealing to everybody. And like I said in my last review, the best thing that a movie can do is make us enjoy it. Like, if we enjoy your movie, then it doesn't matter what genre, what the cast is. It doesn't matter, at the end of the day, what type of movie it is. If you if you entertained me, then you did your job as a filmmaker. And I think that they definitely killed it with this. I watched it again, and my second time watching it, I did love like seeing the setup for Frank actually being one of Aguirre's men. I thought that was really well done, and when you watch it a second time, and you know that you can pick up those hints, and they're so well laid throughout the movie that on your first viewing, you would, unless you're very very astute in looking for something, or always looking for some kind of twist, then you probably wouldn't have gotten it. But on the repeat viewings, you see, oh wow, they did a really good job of layering in those little tidbits of foreshadowing. And I don't know, I think that they did such a good job. I feel like this movie definitely deserves a watch. Like, if you have Disney Plus, which, let's be honest, most of you have Disney Plus. So if you have Disney Plus and you haven't seen this movie, go watch this movie. It's so much fun. If honestly, this is kind of like my fix for my adventure movie. I'm a huge diehard Indiana Jones fan, and this was definitely something that like scratched that itch for me. So I would implore you, okay, please go see this movie. Find it on Disney Plus, and if you don't have Disney Plus, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, definitely check this movie out. Blu-ray it if you don't have Disney Plus. It's worth the Blu-ray. It's worth having. It's so much fun for the whole family. Really, you can have fun at it. I feel like at every level and at every age. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for my review. I'd love to know what you think about this movie. It is such a pretty film too. The jungle, and even the CGI for Proxima was really good. The CGI for Aguirre and his men were also just like, that was phenomenal too. I feel like they did really good job, and Proxima was pretty good as well. And I fell in love with the cat. I fell in love with the cat. Of course I did. You can't have a big fur ball and not expect me to fall in love with them. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comment section down below, or you can subscribe if you want to. It's free, and if you hit the little bell, it'll notify you every time I put up a video, which I, that that's cool, right? Anyway, thank you again for watching this video, and go watch the movie. It's a lot of fun.